All right, chat. I have a really cool video. It's something that gets asked to me a little bit often, which is how to form a union. Now, this is put out by More Perfect Union, which is one of those amazing projects that has sprung out of the Bernie Sanders movement. I adore More Perfect Union. I think this is like one of my dopamine releasers, better than any Zoloft. Watching More Perfect Union. Before we jump in to watching this, I wanted to show you this. Hold on. I didn't grab all the links. I'm a dummy. Why am I only dragging one thing at a time? Okay. Starbucks fired an SB Workers United union leader in Buffalo. The whole store walked out in protest. I'm sorry, it's serotonin. Excuse me. You know what I meant. The manager at the end is like shitting themselves. Oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck, oh shit. Oh shit, oh fuck. That's the power of a union, baby. All right, let's go. Get in the classroom. How to form a union.
You should map out your workplace.
That's aggressive.
I was trying to match the energy.
I'll do a less dramatic pen. Okay. Hi, I'm Sola.
And I'm Ham.
And today we're going to give you a recipe for how to form a union at your workplace.
We're also going to make a cake.
Don't worry, it'll make sense.
You might have heard about some of the high-profile union drives taking place across the country right now.
Over the last couple of
Oh yeah, Hasan had one of Amazon labor leaders on his stream, didn't he? Do you guys gonna watch that and get my take on it, or you don't give a shit? Which is either one is fine. I don't care. Because I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that interview. Because did he post it on his stream yet? Okay, hell yeah, he did.
Years, a record number of American workers have walked the job.
A recent survey found that 63% of workers who quit their jobs in 2021 did so because pay was simply too low, and 57% said it was because they felt disrespected at work. I feel like I should have said that in the Sarah McLachlan voice.
Mm-hmm. In the arms of the... Does this sound familiar? Is there something happening in your workplace that you want to change? We talked to some workers who felt the same way.
Mary Jorgensen. I have been at the UW for 17 years and I work in the inpatient operating room.
Sherry Signer. I was a general care float nurse for the last 9 years.
I am Michelle Haydock. I am a shift supervisor at Starbucks in Mesa, Arizona. I've worked for the company for 5 years.
My name is Austin Hitch. I'm a specialist at Verizon Wireless. I've been working there going on 9 years.
My name is Jesse Mason. I worked as a specialist at a Verizon store from August 2021.
And I've seen a lot of changes.
Until just in April when I was fired for trying to organize a union.
My name is Jimena Andreu Gil. I am a grad student researcher and teaching assistant at the University of California, Davis in the Department of Plant Biology.
All right, before we talk more about the unitization, I just want to thank our buddy, our pal, Puns and Roses, because that tweet that I stole directly from chat, remember Puns and Roses wrote in chat, my worry is that dark Brandon memes will create a Morbius effect where it leads Biden in his campaign to think he's more popular than he actually is, motivating him to run again in 2024 when he absolutely should not. Remember when I took that post in chat and I just copied it completely and pasted it as my own tweet? It did pretty well. It got a couple thousand likes. Thanks, Puns and Roses. Yoink. Yoink. Thanks, Puns and Roses. Appreciate you. For a socialist stream, we share here.
They live all over the country and have very different types of jobs, but they all have one thing in common. They were fed up at work and they decided to do something to improve their workplace.
There needs to be a balance of power shifted back to the workers, and it's starting. It's starting right now.
When the hospital pushed things too far, I said enough is enough.
It was just time. It was enough.
More Perfect Union has covered a lot of union drives, and we know that the process can be both rewarding and extremely difficult. So where do you even start? We're gonna break it down for you step by step.
Step by step,
All right.
day by day.
They're gonna use that.
Welcome to the classroom from More Perfect Union.
I think the nurses just hit their breaking point. I know I did personally. When I'm on the floor taking care of my patients, I used to do whatever I could to not let them know how stressed I was, that it had been 12 hours and I hadn't eaten, gone to the bathroom once. We're all
Well,
just
look at the
tired of
Beto clip.
defending
Just
the
someone link it
hospital.
to me.
We're
I
tired
didn't look
of
at it yet.
Covering for them.
When I first started at UW in 2005, we did have a union. I took it for granted because it was such a great place to work. After Scott Walker passed Act 10 in 2011, they stripped bargaining rights for workers in unions. And now it's not such a great place to work. The pandemic obviously was incredibly stressful for everyone there. So many nurses have left.
J Reality.
They have
We'll watch this
PTSD.
later.
We were watching the Starbucks workers in Buffalo, and we were seeing what their complaints were, right? Short staff, not getting the tenured pay, things like that we were also experiencing.
I mean, everybody complains about their work. It's more than that. It's, we were essentially told, if you're not happy working here, quit. And you can't quit your way to workers' rights. You can't quit your way to what you deserve. I called the CWA, left a voicemail, and said, my coworkers and I have been talking
Communication
about
Workers of
unionizing,
America.
and they called me back the next day, told me about Jesse's store also starting to unionize.
The important thing to remember about a union is that it's not an institution that you form and then never think about again. It's right there in the name. To form a union, you need to bring people together. It's about joining with your fellow coworkers to solve problems democratically, because you are stronger together in your workplace than you are on your own.
Think about it this way. When the CEO of a big corporation got hired, he or she sat down with the board of the company to negotiate the terms of compensation and benefits. They reached an agreement that they felt was beneficial to both sides.
But probably when you joined the company, you were told to take it or leave it. No discussion, no negotiation. Unions help give workers a say so that management isn't dictating all the terms.
What a union is just a structure of workers. It's really important to have a union, but a union doesn't do anything by itself any more than an empty school educates people by itself.
We all come together around one decision, and we go to the bargaining table, and we get to make our demands known.
It's such an amazing feeling knowing that they have to actually take the time and listen to us. It's not some quiz that you fill out every once in a while at work. Like, they actually have to hear this feedback.
There's no one-size-fits-all way to start this process. Forming a union is a little bit like baking. You have to know your oven, you have to know your tools, but you have to be ready to improvise. No one is going to know your workplace better than you. But there's some key
I used to be a Teamster, and I saw firsthand my union rep get 2 union drivers their jobs back after being fired. One tried to fight another coworker. Unions will literally fight for you to get your job back if you were legally fired or terminated. Yeah.
steps that most successful union organizers would recommend you take.
Oh, we're sifting.
You need to have one-on-one conversations. Sometimes you might be the best messenger to talk to a coworker. Sometimes you might need to identify someone who might be more effective.
It's useful to think of an issue or two that people care about, like that crazy increase in healthcare premiums we have to pay, or the loss of paid time off.
When I first started talking with my coworkers, we weren't talking about unionizing. We were talking about the problems that we all had to deal with at work every day.
It's a little bit of talking and a whole lot of listening. Hey, what are your complaints about the workplace? What would you do if you could change Verizon for the better? What would you change about this workplace?
You need to talk to your coworkers about the real issues that are driving you to organize and what you want the union to help you win.
That's the thing about unionization that you should keep in mind, is that what it takes to form a union depends on each individual circumstance. That's why it's so hard to explain exactly how you would get a union in your specific job from somebody who's not there. It's up to you and your workers collectively coming together and finding those areas of common ground where you can start the organization process. You have to do the work. You got to talk to people. You have to listen to people. You aren't just dictating them, oh, let's have a union. I'll be in charge. Here's what I think needs to change. It is a collective effort, and it only works if everybody comes together.
We distributed surveys to get an idea of what the working climate was in our different campuses. More than 90% of UC workers are rent burdened. More than half of us have experienced or have seen discrimination or harassment in the job.
You should map out your workplace. Who works at the company? What are the different types of jobs they do? How much are they paid? As you have those conversations,
Yeah,
you'll
we
need to
saw
keep
that,
track of
Ill
who
Will.
definitely wants to organize a union.
I'm waiting
who
for
might
more
need
news.
some more convincing, or who has concerns.
Once you develop this relationship with people, you can kind of drop in there like, hey, what do you think of the Starbucks workers unionizing? Hey, what do you think of this similar job to ours that is union? Do you know other people that are in unions? And then you can kind of feel out from there who's going to be on your side, who's passionate.
Is
and fighting
May
for
really
you,
resigning?
who's
No,
going
May-
to
May likes
probably
to
vote
say
for
this
you,
kind of
but
stuff.
isn't going to work with
Relax,
you the whole
it's-
way to make it happen. And unfortunately, you
It's
will
called a
find
bluff.
a few people that are anti-union.
I did hear people telling me things that this is not something that science students do, because there's this idea that in science, if you're a science grad student, you're somehow paid more or you have guaranteed funding. Kind of like this idea of us versus them. But we have the same goals. We're trying to improve people's lives.
Knowing where you stand with your coworkers
Another
is key to a
disgruntled mod.
successful
What can I
organizing
do?
campaign.
I did it again.
When enough of your coworkers are on the same page, you can reach out to a union and decide how you want to organize.
If you work for a big employer,
Like Amazon.
there might be other workers already organizing in your workplace or in your industry at large. Like most auto workers already organize with the UAW, or many hospitality workers organize with Unite Here. Try reaching out to the relevant union and see if you can get plugged in.
I previously, like in October, had reached out to Starbucks Workers United from a fake email account that I made up. They didn't want my name involved because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, or anything. I think I signed it, from a West Coast Starbucks. And I was just like, hey, like, we're watching you and we want to support you. How do we do this? And they actually responded back and they were like, the best way to support is let's talk about unionizing. And I was so nervous, I never responded. And I just kept that email there and I had it available to me.
I started going to meetings at the SEIU office. They were holding those 4 times a day, once a week.
Service Employees
just to get
International
some action
Union.
plans going. We have an organizer that's just amazing, and she's super motivating, and she's become one of my really good friends.
The UAW, the
United
United
Auto
Auto
Workers.
Workers, historically has represented auto workers. However, it also represents many other industries, including aerospace, agricultural implements, and now more than 100,000 academic workers across the nation. I think it's great to be part of so many
Big
people
boys.
coming from so many different industries, because academia is not alone in the world.
So when it came to the point of, let's talk to Michelle, she's the one that knows about the unions, I pulled that email back up. I'm from the store in Mesa, like, can we talk? And that's how it started. And 2 days later, we filed.
However you choose to
Nice.
affiliate with a big union or
Very
independent.
very smart that they got their paperwork and they had everything ready and they did it quickly. That's a very, very important strat.
You will work to develop an organizing plan for your workplace.
To demonstrate to your employer that you want a union, you'll have other workers sign union cards to show support and present those to management and ask them to recognize the union.
What that card says is that you want to bargain collectively with the company through the union.
It's not something that you can do if you're impatient. It's a lot of just walking up to people, on my break of course, who I don't know, and ask them if they've signed a card, if not, why.
It's been a lot of work, but very exciting. I'm asking them to put their faith and their trust into an organization that they may not know anything about. I'm asking them to agree to stand next to me as an ally.
Tell us why speed matters. Oh, speed matters because the longer you take to file, the more time the company can prepare themselves to do anti-union, meetings. They can bring in consultants. They can pressure you. They can make veiled and illegal threats. They could try to target the organizers to get fired. All these kind of things happen when you're organized in the union. So the faster you get that union organized and filed with the National Labor Relations Board, the faster the federal, facilitators are there, the faster you can move to the election, the less time that people will get shaky. You want them to sign that union card and vote in that election before the company can really beat them down. MR thinks Ivanka is the mole.
We are at 98.9% signed union cards.
Remember that every single member of the union makes the union stronger, that you don't just need a slim majority, you need as close to everyone as you can.
Not every employer will resist you forming a union. Your boss can voluntarily recognize your union.
And some employers do.
Yeah, voluntary recognition just means that they see that there is enough interest in forming a union and they say, great.
But what happens when they don't voluntarily recognize the union?
Well, one option is to keep pushing. It is, after all, your choice.
If
And
they
there's
hear you
clear
trying to
evidence-
organize during your break, can they fire you? No. You can't be fired for trying to organize a union legally because that's what's known as protected labor activity. So I would suggest that you don't do it anywhere a boss can hear you because they might come up with some other pretext. Are you always 5 minutes late? Nobody ever cared. Well, if you start organizing in the union, suddenly the fact that you're 5 minutes late, they might decide that that's a fireable offense. So you got to be, that's an obvious thing to get in trouble for. But I'm just saying, you want to make sure that you keep as much concealed from the employer as possible, even though it's technically illegal for them to fire you for trying to unionize or write a petition or anything else.
You and a majority of your coworkers support unionizing, your employer should respect that choice.
Otherwise, you'll need to file for an election with the National Labor Relations Board.
As a non-employee, what's the most helpful thing you can do for a supermarket? Tell people you support the union. The workers that are there, say good luck. If the workers are on strike, don't cross the picket line. Don't go to that grocery store while they're on strike. Don't talk to everybody that you know if you see an organizing effort happening or a labor action happening, how you support it. Be publicly supportive to workers on picket lines. Bring them donuts, bring them coffee, that kind of thing. Bragoso77, you could donate to strike funds. There's over 500 people at my workplace and I'm mapping it myself pretty much. It's going to take me a long ass time. Yeah, you got to try to find other people that are interested.
I know this is getting technical, but stay with us. Once you know that a majority of your coworkers are ready to vote yes for a union, you'll file for what's called
How is
a
unionizing
representation.
different in countries like in Northern Europe? They have what's known as sectoral bargaining, where basically the entire labor system is set up with the idea of these very large sectorally organized unions that are imposed by law. So basically, the government says there will be a union for restaurant workers. And so anytime anybody wants to hire restaurant workers, they have to go to the restaurant workers union and they hire people based on the contract that they negotiate at a very high level. So it's a little bit different there. Whereas in the US, we do it on what's known as the firm or model or the location model.
Petition, or RC.
This process will also involve determining who will be part of your bargaining unit. A bargaining unit just means the group of employees who will be represented by the union and by the contract with the employer. Then, the NLRB will set a date for the election. Up until the election, you will keep campaigning.
And your employer will probably keep pushing back.
Workers will submit their ballots and then it's time to actually count the votes. Traditionally, this election would happen in person at the workplace with in-person observers sent by the NLRB to make sure that the rules are followed and everything is fair. The NLRB board agent counts them and reports out the results.
Throughout this process, it's important to know your rights and know what you might be up against. When your employer hears that you or coworkers are talking about organizing and forming a union, they're probably going to fight back.
One of the important things that you have to do early is to know what the company is going to say. So you can talk to your coworkers and tell them, hey, the union busters, they're going to come in and they're going to say, oh, we're so sorry you're so unhappy. We didn't know. If you only would have told us, we could have fixed this. You don't need a third party to come in and help you. Those are direct quotes from the union busters, essentially.
One 2020 study noted that employers spent $340 million per year on union avoidance consultants. That means they might make you attend anti-union meetings so you can learn all the facts. Or they might have supervisors try to convince you that the union will be bad for you and your coworkers.
Some of these tactics might be perfectly legal, even if they seem a bit icky. Others are against the law, but they're counting on the fact that you don't know your rights.
When you're in an organizing drive, the company has home court advantage. They can do all the union busting they want on the clock. They can put you in what's called captive audience meetings, or like they did for us in our store, they can pull you one-on-one or even two-on-one. We had 2 union busters in a room and 1 rep. And they're there to manipulate your emotions, to tell you that they're gonna fix everything, to tell you that, you know, you don't need this union.
I wish I could sit here and tell you that it never happens because it's illegal, but I got fired from Verizon for unionizing, so it does happen. But the upside is that because it's illegal, there are consequences to the company doing that. If you're scared, that just means that there is someone that's making you scared. And the reason that the company is making you scared of unionizing is really that they're scared of you unionizing.
Once you get recognition or
Roots.
win your election,
Good luck
you
on
and
your
your coworkers
union
will
election.
engage in collective bargaining with management.
Collective bargaining is the term for the process of workers as a group negotiating with their bosses. Things like pay, benefits, hours, and other working conditions.
Right now, we currently are in the collective bargaining process, and I would say that this is probably my favorite part. We're sitting across from the company, and we're actually getting to say, hey, this is what we want.
Then you come to an agreement or contract, which is the legal and binding result of that negotiation.
What we're fighting for
Why is it so institutionalized? File this, get that recognized. Isn't a union just a bunch of workers binding together to make demands with actual negotiation power? Well, because contracts, so to answer your question, contracts are a government-enforced legal obligation. So in order for there to be a government enforcement, the institution has to be recognized under the law. So what these institutions do is they provide a clear method through the legal system to establish a union that is recognized by the government as an official representative of the bargaining unit. So that when there's a contract negotiated, there is a group of people that are legally empowered to make those kind of decisions. Furthermore, the other reason why it's so institutionalized is because they're trying to prevent unions from seizing too much power. And when I say too much, I mean from the perspective of the capitalist class. This is an attempt by liberals to create a class collaborationist society where the working class doesn't just say, why do we don't need the bourgeoisie and kill them all. It's trying to balance that of how much exploitation can we get away with? How can we take these organizations and make them less militant? Because if you don't have legal recognition, then people in unions do stuff like sabotage, violence, bombings, assassinations, violent pickets, things like that. And it could be pretty destabilizing if you have that kind of stuff going on. And then what will happen is the state will send in the military, you know, and have shootouts and shit. This is not exactly the kind of world you necessarily want to live in. So these kind of accommodations were made where you would take the labor struggle out of the street as much as possible. And that's why the liberals did it. Personally, I would argue in favor of a much, more robust regime of labor rights.
It's a strong contract, a contract that guarantees that SRs are protected at the workplace, that no SR faces housing insecurity or food insecurity.
Once you have a
What do you think about
contract,
tug worker
you're
union?
going to pay
I'd
a
like
very
to see
small
it.
amount of your paycheck in dues. What does that pay for? Well, it pays for
I mean, airline pilots are well paid and they have a union. Just because you're well paid doesn't mean you can't have a union. And why do airline pilots have a union, it's so they get, their asses on the plane. They want to make sure there's good maintenance. They want to have rest. They want to stay at nice hotels when they're on a trip. Just because you get paid a lot of money doesn't mean that your life is peachy. You still have other considerations and working conditions that a union can help. I'm sure if I was a tech worker, I wouldn't want crunch. I wouldn't want to be working 100-hour weeks. I would want to negotiate a union so that, hey, yeah, pay is great, but I also want to be able to have a life. Professional athletes have unions, exactly. Chris Ball said the best thing he could tell people while organizing was to go ask bus drivers what they made, 30 to 35 with up to 70 for overtime. Yeah, because they usually are amalgamated union members. Hollywood actors didn't make shit until they unionized. Hollywood actors has a union. It's called the Screen Actors Guild. Writers have a union. So, like, yeah. All these rich and famous people have a union. Why do you think that is?
For the organizing of the next stores that are going to
Directors have a union.
Don't get us wrong. Because of the way our labor laws are set up, and because workers have to be
Which
ready and
streamers
willing
have
to
a-
take a stand to form a union, it can be very difficult to win. This
Amazon
process
would
is
assassinate me
fundamentally
with a
tilted
knife.
in favor of employers. But that's not a reason to give up. That's even more of a reason to unionize.
The facts are clear. Workers represented by unions have higher wages than non-unionized workers, more access to on-the-job
I'm in the Editors
benefits,
Guild. There
better
you go.
job security, better training and professional development opportunities, and more.
The future's going to look great.
I am optimistic that big changes will happen, and they will happen because of our solidarity.
But other than the specific financial gains that unionizing can have for individual groups of workers, it can also provide an important voice to make our society more democratic and more fair.
Oh, if there were more unions in general,
Yeah, we'll
life
watch that
would be
Chris
better
Smalls thing later.
100% overall. We wouldn't have all money going into administrators' pockets or CEOs' pockets.
Let's be real, Mike. You aren't big enough to be assassinated. Hasan would be killed. Then they come up with some ticky-tack ban on your channel, and that'd be it. You're only getting away with that because you're a tier 3 simp. All right, let's keep going.
People could actually have happier work-life balances. They could make livable wages. They'd have safe working environments.
Forming a union can also be an empowering and even fun experience for you, connecting you more with your fellow
Tier
workers.
3 protection.
All this is fun.
There you go, chat. There's an example of unfair hierarchical bias. James Waite got away with that toxic chat message because he's a tier 3.
I like speaking now. I like talking to people at work. I like getting people excited.
419, thanks for the prime,
I never thought
bud.
that I would like talking to people so much, but I do.
This unionization effort has brought more meaning to my life to make a difference and to make true change for my patients, because I went into nursing to make a change and to help people.
Organizing this union.
Damn, that's
it's
based.
meant the world to me. I think I found my new calling in life.
It's hard to work together to make change. Unions provide an opportunity to put that into action.
Chaotic,
on the
that's the
scale
tier
of
2,
your
buddy.
workplace.
I think that pretty much everyone in America, no matter where in politics you're on, you have this kind of big sense that there is some force that's holding you down. If you watch Fox News, they'll tell you that it's immigrants or they'll tell you that it's trans people. But it's pretty obvious to me that the force in American life that is truly controlling us are these big corporations that have swollen in size, swollen in profits, while we get less and less benefit. And what I've learned is that I can channel this urge to do something, this urge to fight back in a productive direction by not doing it alone. I can form alliances with everyone at work, with people that are workers all across the country, and together we can fight back.
I mean, I guess what I wish I could have told my past self before we started this organizing drive was just get it started sooner. Especially right now, it's in the zeitgeist. Unions they have a 70% positivity rate with the country right now. If there was ever a time to stand up and join a union, it's right now.
So if you're ready, think about what you want at work. Think about which of your coworkers you're ready to talk to. And if you think you'd like to take another step, contact a union organizer to find out more.
You are not alone. There is power in a union.
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 There's power in a union.
There is power in a union.
There's power in a union.
Based.
Thank you for joining us in the classroom, a series by More Perfect Union.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our previous videos.
Are union organizers allowed to incentivize workers to join a union by offering immediate strike fund to pay or something? You mean like pay them to sign? I don't know of any. That's a good question, honestly. I don't know of that as a strategy because typically unions don't have that kind of deep pocket, but I bet you it's regulated. All right. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.